My name is Scott Jessen. I'm with Tennant Products. I'm actually Director of Product Development for Tennant Products. So in the basic course, we sit down and we talk about Restore. We talk about the optimal nutrition, what cells need to create. This is kind of the second level to that in level 2. And we're actually going to dive into the microbiome, immune and digestive support, what that looks like, some of the things that can actually impede the full function of that. So as I mentioned today, we're going to have a little bit about Tennant Products, who we are, what we do. We make and manufacture all the nutraceuticals for the Tenant Institute and Synergy. We'll talk a little bit about the microbiome and illness, what happens with that, glyphosate, GMO, and the impact on the microbiome, what happens with that, and why we actually need to help support some of the things that happen with that. We'll dive into Gut Bootcamp, stomach acid and iodine, why that actually matters, digestive support, and then follow up with kind of taking a different direction into herbal voltage and voltage up. We can finish up with a little Q&A session after that. So at Tennant Products, this is a lot more than a job for us. It's our passion. We all have a story, just like you have a story that you're here. We have a story that brought us here. I have my own story. I'll share just a little bit of that with you. But we pride ourselves in making exceptional nutraceuticals. So we use therapeutic grade ingredients that were originally only available through healthcare practitioners. Now they're actually available to the general public as well. We go the extra mile to make sure that we only use the highest quality ingredients in the most bioavailable form, or the easiest for your bodies to use. And you're not going to find toxic fillers, preservatives, or additional excipients in our products. We are family owned and operated. We know that ingredients do matter, and what we put into our body does affect how we feel and function each day. Again, it's more than a job for us. It's our passion. We believe that it's your body, it's your life, and ingredients matter. A little bit about me. I am not a doctor. I'm not a practitioner. I am an avid nutritional enthusiast, and I am the Director of Product Development for Tennant Products. So what we're actually diving into is kind of a conglomeration. A lot of it's from Dr. Tennant. Several are from other practitioners that I worked with when I worked as a functional medicine business consultant. And then a conglomeration from other biochemists and doctors that I've run into along the way when we start talking about products and things that are happening. So this picture that you see of me is a little bit of my story. We'll just run through this pretty quickly. So 2018, I went from being a business consultant, working for a couple of businesses and consulting those, woke up, couldn't feel my hands, couldn't feel my feet, had severe pain, couldn't walk. Doctors diagnosed it as MS. They sent me home in a wheelchair with a prescription for PT and said, hey, it's probably MS, comes on late 30s, usually happens, follow up with your neurologist in 3 weeks. I said, this doesn't work for me. Let's figure out what else we can do. I reached out to a functional medicine practice and they said, hey, look, you actually have a crazy amount of toxins. Your nutrition isn't right. Your sleep isn't right. Your stress is off the charts and you need some additional hormone support. So basically I had to revamp my entire life. And what that did was that led me down another path that made me realize that I thought I was healthy until I wasn't. And then everything was taken away. I had incredibly high toxin exposure, poor nutrition, and zero stress management. And I realized along this way, there's a significant difference between what practitioners actually say and what the clients receive. And so how can we tie that gap? And I realized the avenue for that was through a coach, right? Through a health coach. So I looked around to find the best practice, and I found a course through the Institute of Functional Medicine, got involved with them, and now I'm actually a functional medicine certified health and wellness coach, which additionally helps with this. So now if we look at things today, my family has grown. My mind is working unlike I have ever had it happen before. Nutrition is a priority. My family is continuing to grow, and I have the opportunity to be here. So it's a little bit about myself. If I don't have the answers, we'll certainly reach out. I'll be the first to say, I don't know, but let's find the answer and let's partner together to figure that out. So let's dive into this. In the basic course, we talked about core nutrition. We talked about Restore. We talked about iodine, raw materials, digestive enzymes, and Neo40, right? We have those 5. We know that those are covered. But then that next question is, well, what else do we need? Well, a huge part of our body is actually the microbiome. And we know that Dr. Tennant mentioned this earlier. He talked about that. The microbiome is a teeming collection of billions of viruses, bacteria, fungi that make up the human gut, and they give the gut their home. The relationship is incredibly symbiotic. So if something happens to your gut, there's a chance that it's going to affect your mood, your brain, your emotions, or your functions. Kind of ties back into everything else that we're talking about. So why is it important? Well, it has so many different jobs. The microbiome has so many different jobs. Not only does it manage digestion, but it plays a critical role in mood, cravings, mental clarity, immunity, and so many other things. There's also this thing, just like Dr. Tennant mentioned, that 80% of the neurochemicals are created in the gut. We know that the gut is often referred to as the second brain. And it's even said that the gut actually sends more messages from the gut to the brain than the brain does to the gut. And this communication happens by sending signals through the gastrointestinal tract, through the central nervous system known as the gut-brain axis. So when you start hearing that, or when you see things in social media posts, or you see things across the board that are talking about that, it's talking about this communication of the gut-brain axis. And this happens through using communication through the lymph system, the blood circulation, and the vagus nerve. It's important that we have functioning systems because our body is designed as a system, and so we know that we need to have everything working at one time. Another way to look at this is that our microbiome is a lot like a garden. So if you imagine a beautiful garden with lots of colors, vibrant fruits and vegetables, a garden's beautiful, but it takes work, right? So you need to make sure that you weed it. You provide it water, attention, care, sunlight. If it's not watered or taken care of, then it becomes full of weeds, overgrown, and then the overgrown weeds actually filter out and hurt the rest of the flowers or the vegetation. So our microbiome is not unlike this in that it requires a similar care, attention, and nutrition. And we need good food, or the probiotics. We need fertilizer or food for the probiotics, known as prebiotics, and support, something to help rid the weeds and detox the gut. When it's not cared for, we know that this dysbiosis can occur. And this causes additional changes in food, cravings, irritability, mood, or even stress management, something that I was certainly part of this. And the studies have all shown us that the more diverse the microbiome we have, the increased our ability to come back from illness and to fight off pathogens. So when we think about the importance of the microbiome, Dr. Rosenbaum says, I submit to you that any disease that has an immune component, whether it's Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, autism, atherosclerosis, obesity, diabetes, or any disease that you are seeing in your clinics with an immune component, the microbiome is having some effect. In other words, we need to make sure that we're taking care of that so that we can actually bring everything else back into place. So we live in an industrialized society where everything is manufactured, including our food, right? When we look at things, we understand that the population is growing and we have to increase our food supply. And so part of that means that we have genetically modified organisms so that we can continue to grow bigger and larger crops. We need to decrease the amount of weeds so that we can feed more people. And we need to make sure that the foods actually have better shelf stability. Well, all of these things impact our food supply. So we know that GMO crops can have a negative impact on the foods, on both the foods we eat and what happens in our bodies. We know that pesticides, weed killer, glyphosate or Roundup, kills the bacteria in the body and removes the bacteria necessary to create the enzymes to break down the foods that we eat. And it also leads to additional inflammatory issues or autoimmune issues, even leaky gut. And that foods cooked in the additional added sugars, the fats, can cause damage to the microbes and the digestive tract, also eliminating the beneficial bacteria. What's interesting about this is that as we age, our immune system also ages and becomes more prone to immune infections, and the diversity of the microbiome decreases. So remember how we talked about that the more diverse the microbiome, the more easily you'll be able to fend off pathogens and viruses. Well, if you decrease that diversity by either the variety of food you eat or the bacteria in your gut, then you can end up with some issues. And one of the things that we found is that probiotics can benefit by helping proliferate a more diverse beneficial bacteria in the gut when they're not available in the body or in the diet. So let's take another look at this. Let's dive in just for a moment to talk about glyphosate. So glyphosate's the active ingredient in Roundup, most popular weed killer used around the world. These numbers were kind of staggering to me. Over 30 million pounds of herbicide are sprayed on farms every year in the US and over 19 billion pounds globally. It's used on 70% of all crops. What's interesting is that I've spoken with doctors who have eaten organically and eaten clean for the last 20 years, and they still have glyphosate that tests in their system. So we think that we can get away with it, but it's really difficult to. In the 1990s, when crop production increased, they actually found that engineers were able to design crops that were resistant to glyphosate. So we were able to create more yield for crops. We can use this, kill off the weeds. The question that I have is, well, what does that do to my immune system? We all heard that glyphosate's bad. The question that I have is, what does that actually do to my immune system, and how does that have an effect? Well, specifically speaking, glyphosate actually kills off the beneficial bacteria in the body. So specifically talking in the microbiome, the bifidobacterium and the lactobacillus are both very important to the microbiome. What we found is that those bacteria actually help create the enzymes that we need to break down the casein and milk proteins. When those enzymes are missing, as an example, babies can create casein, milk protein, or lactose intolerance. So we have something that kills off the bacteria. We don't have that bacteria. That bacteria is needed to help create those enzymes. Those enzymes don't work, and we can't have those, then we can actually end up with an intolerance. Then, as we look at that and we take it a step further, we understand that the pathogens take hold because the beneficial bacteria are weak or depleted. Those pathogens can then take the additional step to cause inflammatory gut, leaky gut, additional viruses, some of the stuff that Dr. Tennant was talking about just moments ago. So then we take another look at this. So what happens when we get sick? Well, we know that illness creates an imbalance in the microbiome. When this happens, the body creates a cytokine storm. The body loses the good bacteria, the pathogens take over. When the regular bacteria come back, then the pathogens go away. What's interesting with this, and somebody explained it, like if you think about things in New Orleans before Hurricane Katrina, right? Everything's peachy keen, everybody's living their lives, things are going really well. And then all of a sudden the hurricane shows up, they take off, the normal population leaves, and then the looters show up and their friends show up with the looters. This is not unlike what happens in our microbiome when we get sick. Causes some additional problems. And then it takes a while for the looters to leave, the normal population to come back and then rebuild. This is not unlike what happens in our microbiome. And the studies have shown us that when we replace our probiotics, we can help repair and heal the gut. So we know that probiotics can help with lung and cardiovascular disease, specifically pneumonia. We actually have over 80 clinical studies that have been shown to show a positive effect with lactobacillus. Again, one of the things that glyphosate or weed killer targets. And so then we say, okay, well, what do we need to do when we're actually looking at this? We know that it's a problem. We know we have a hard time actually avoiding this. What are some of the things that we can actually do to support the gut? Again, if we go back to the microbiome, we know that it's like a garden. We need to be able to support it. We need to be able to feed it, and we need to be able to take care of it. And so we have Dr. Tennant's Microbiome Support Formula. This used to be called GI Ultramax Pro, and then was relabeled to Microbiome Support. In full transparency, we're trying to make sure that we're able to label products to say what they do and do what they say. And we thought, well, what really happens here is that this targets the microbiome. And so we have Dr. Tennant's Microbiome Support, which is developed to help provide the tools necessary to support a healthy GI tract and microbiome. We actually have an updated formula with added immune and digestion support. So what's the point of this? Well, microbiome support is actually designed to help heal, clean, and reset the gut. So all of the things that we've been talking about, right? If you need to plant a garden, you need to make sure that you have a nice clean bed with, actual fertilization, some soil. You also need the seeds for that. And this helps our gut actually provide that. So it helps support the leaky gut with ingredients, clinically proven ingredients to help support intestinal wall integrity, endothelial type function, and a healthy mucosal barrier environment. It helps specifically with providing stress management. And then it has ingredients that we've added to help support the immune system. We know that the microbiome and brain health and gut health are all tied together. And so the latest addition actually adds vitamin C, vitamin D3, additional selenium, additional zinc, and some additional detoxifying agents to make sure that we can increase the stability of the gut. And then the end result of this is that when you actually take the microbiome support, it helps reduce cravings or for fatty or unhealthy foods, and it helps promote a more balanced and healthy GI bacteria. So when we take a look at this, we know that Dr. Tennant's microbiome support has additional immune and digestive support, but it's specifically targeted to increase the level of anti-inflammatory agents to help support the additional stress load, which are caused by either stress or a specific attack on the microbiome. We have a digestion support, and then specific ingredients that are targeted to help with healing and improve healing in the GI tract. Also detoxification. So when we look at this, we actually have selenium. We've increased the selenium. We have glutamine, Immunocyst micron, which is a medicinal mushroom blend, curcumin or turmeric, humic and fulvic acids, which we know are beneficial for not only transporting nutrients, but also detoxing and promoting the beneficial gut health. And then larch-arabinogalactic fiber, which is a prebiotic that we use that helps with that feeling of satiety. And then just recently, we've actually added vitamin C as whole vitamin C. So it has polyphenol C, vitamin D3, NAC or N-acetylcysteine, BFG Immune as 1,3-beta-glucan isolate, which helps support the immune system, ginger root, inulin fiber, and then the digestion resistant fiber. All of these things to make sure that you have the support to help support the probiotics and the specific bacteria in your immune system. Now, the question is, you might say, well, Scott, wait a minute, I don't see any probiotics in here. You said that probiotics are important. There are a bunch of prebiotics, but there aren't probiotics. So why is that? Well, studies have shown that having prebiotics is almost more beneficial than having probiotics alone, because we already have some probiotics in the system. And if we support with the prebiotics, then that can certainly help proliferate the good bacteria in the system. So the next step of this is that there's a fungal component. And so we know that we have the microbiome, but there's also something called the mycobiome. And the mycobiome is actually the fungal component of this. And so we have Dr. Tennant's Fungal Detox as a full spectrum professional grade formula that supports optimal gut health and detox at the cellular level. Basically, Fungal Detox helps regulate and manage the fungus in your microbiome. The fungal component of this is known as the mycobiome. Study that came out they really started studying it about 10 years ago, where that phrase was coined. This helps the body manage candida, helps with normal fungus and yeast balance, helps support gut health and flora balance, and then helps cleanse and detox gently and naturally. Interesting thing about Fungal Detox is I got sick. I was put on several different diets that I was supposed to eat clean. One of those was keto, and I was keto for almost 9 months. When my wife eats clean, she doesn't have an issue with cravings. When I eat clean, I have a major issue with cravings. I love donuts. I love brownies. And I ate clean for a little over 9 months, and I craved a donut and a brownie every single day. When I took Fungal Detox for 3 weeks, that craving went away, which was wild to me, because 3/4 of a year, I was doing everything that I could to match everything. And I had these significant cravings. It's a fight to, not pull over and get a brownie or a donut when I had the opportunity. But what I realized is that I actually had a little bit of a fungal overgrowth. That was actually, even though fungus is a smaller portion of the microbiome, it's only about 3%. molecules are a lot larger, and so they play a bigger role. So as soon as I was able to actually help support the fungal balance in my body, then those cravings subsided. So along with bacteria, fungus and yeast play an integral role in the body's digestion system and also play a critical role in detoxification. The body needs a balance of both fungus and yeast in appropriate levels to help maintain that in optimal health. Now, if we think about glyphosate, what are two things that actually kill glyphosate and help it go away? Because if you look at the studies, Monsanto will say, well, you know, it actually deteriorates over time and it can actually go away pretty quickly. Well, those two things are fungus and sunlight. So if we're able to support the fungus in our microbiome, that can certainly have a positive effect as well. And then we have Dr. Tennant's probiotic formula. When we think about what actually happens and why we actually need to replace those microbes, we know that we're going to have some form of, whether we've had glyphosate, GMOs, antibiotics, all of those things wreak havoc on the beneficial bacteria in our bodies and in the microbiome. And lactobacillus and bifidobacterium are two of the main probiotics covered in clinical studies and specifically targeted by glyphosate and several of the GMOs. But these are large categories. So we have several different types of each. And the studies have shown us that if you have a wide variety of probiotics, it can be more beneficial for daily maintenance to help proliferate the bacteria in the microbiome than having, let's say 200 billion of Lactobacillus acidophilus. So we know that Lactobacillus and Bifidobacterium are targeted specifically in our diet and in our everyday life. And so we want to make sure that we can help replenish those. So when we take a look at Dr. Tennant's probiotic formula, there are three things that actually make this work. One, there's a delivery system. So it's a time-release delivery system so that it actually can get into the digestive tract so that it can function. It's not a matter of how many colony-forming units you can actually get in the system, which is why we found 30 billion CFUs actually to be incredibly effective. But the delivery system allows it to not be exposed to oxygen as it moves forward. And then it has the prebiotics, which is the food for the probiotics, and then the probiotics. And there's a wide variety of both. So it's fantastic for normal maintenance. So when we look at all of these things, we put them together, we have Dr. Tennant's Gut Bootcamp. And so first we have the Microbiome Support, which is designed to help clean, heal, and reset the gut, right? Gives you that fertile bed. Then we have our Probiotic Formula, which helps maintain the prebiotics and the probiotics, to help support the good bacteria in the gut, which also has that time-release delivery system. And then we have the Fungal Detox, which actually helps support the microbiome to kind of round that out, to make sure that you have the microbiome, the mycobiome, and all of the support that you need to help repair and heal a healthy digestive tract. So then we take another turn and we realize that we need stomach acid, right? Well, we know that iodine is required for stomach acid, all right? Iodine is required for stomach acid, many other functions of the body. Dr. Brownstein will say that iodine is found in each of the trillions of cells in the body. Without adequate iodine levels, life itself is not possible. Dr. Tennant was mentioning earlier today that we can't just take iodine itself and expect it to work, right? We need several other cofactors for iodine to be able to be used in the body. We know that we need other cofactors for stomach acid. So we need iodine, B1, selenium, and zinc. We also need fulvic acid to help transport that to each cell in the body. And we also need fulvic acid to help with iodine. Now, it seems like everything kind of comes back to iodine, and which everything comes back to stomach acid to help regulate the digestive tract. So we know that if we have enough stomach acid, that our systems will function better. Interesting note, I have a 2-year-old who had severe coconut allergies. I mean, she would get blue lips, turn cyanotic if there was coconut derivatives in a spray, and it was in the aerosol form. And it was almost debilitating to figure out how we were going to move forward with this. Well, I met with Dr. Tennant. I said, hey, this is what's happening. We're working with a couple different allergists. He said, well, I bet if you increase your wife's iodine levels because she's breastfeeding, that will go away. And he said, well, hold on a minute. Is she on reflux meds? I said, yeah. And he goes, okay, well, that's probably a stomach acid issue. Okay, well, increase her iodine levels. So I said, okay, well, yeah, I really don't know if that'll work in my head, right? I'm like, I've talked to 3 other doctors. I said, well, why not? Let's give it a shot. So we increased my wife Kathy's iodine levels, increased her levels of stomach acid. Our daughter Betsy came off the reflux meds, increased her iodine levels. Everything balanced out. She's no longer sensitive to anything. We got her into the allergy program. She didn't need to go anymore. So everything balanced out. Once we had appropriate levels of iodine, we were able to balance out the stomach acid. So there's a key thing with this. I attended a conference with some of the best minds in prebiotics and probiotics recently, a couple of weeks ago, and they made a comment about SIBO, and they tied this into Dr. Tennant's theory about iodine and stomach acid. So I wanted to just bring that out. So SIBO, or small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, can happen when you're overeating, right? There are a bunch of reasons why this can happen, but basically there's a lack of stomach acid. And so a lot of folks will say, hey, can microbiome support help treat SIBO? Well, the answer is we need to increase the amount of stomach acid. So if SIBO exists, don't increase the prebiotics or fiber. This will actually increase the bacteria. Instead, focus on increasing levels of stomach acid. When the levels of stomach acid are increased, SIBO should reduce and then allow normal digestive function, and prebiotic and probiotic use can continue. So the thought is increase the level of stomach acid. Everything starts with stomach acid. Increase the levels of stomach acid. When that's good, then we can come back in and do the microbiome support and the prebiotics and probiotics. So we know that iodine matters, right? Iodine needs cofactors. This is a quote from Dr. Tennant. Like zinc and selenium to work correctly, you can't just substitute iodine by itself and get the results that you need. Well, why Lugol's, right? And why is it Dr. Tennant's Lugol's formula? Well, Lugol actually is a simple and pure solution. So it contains both potassium iodide and iodine. The body needs both, right? So the thyroid uses iodide, which is why we have iodized salt. Just enough in the salt to make sure we don't end up with a goiter. And then the breast tissue and prostate use iodine. So we know that we need both. And we know that we also need the cofactors to help metabolize iodine. So zinc, selenium, vitamin C, B1, and fulvic acid. So then we come and we kind of bring things back around in full circle. And we have the digestive enzyme formula. Well, why do we need enzymes, you say? Well, we need the stomach acid to help break things down, but we also need enzymes to help break things down. And if we don't have all of the bacteria if we don't have all the bacteria present so that we can actually create enzymes to help break things down, then we're going to need to supplement them somehow. So Dr. Tennant's digestive enzyme formula actually has every specific enzyme that we could think of to put in there. And Dr. Tennant will say, well, you can eat a perfect diet, but you're still starving if you can't digest it, right? So this has 27 specific enzymes. It helps you digest the food more completely. And then we lose those enzymes through aging or through the cooking of foods. So when you're actually cooking the foods or you're browning those foods, you're actually decreasing the potential for those enzymes. And we want to make sure that we're able to have those in our system so that we can actually digest the food that we eat. So we know that this is a comprehensive digestive enzyme formula. It's designed to work under a wide variety of pH conditions, which are all present throughout the GI tract. And then it helps target difficult to digest foods such as gluten, dairy, grain, seeds, nuts, sugars, beans, and broccoli. And I'll throw bacon in there as well. But the bottom line is that when we know that we need to help replace those enzymes, we can replace those enzymes in an effective manner. So when we think about digestive support, we know that we need to support it from a broad spectrum. We know that our bodies are systems. We need the systems to function. And so we need to do that through supporting the microbiome, the mycobiome with prebiotics and probiotics, and then making sure that we have the enzymes present, along with the stomach acid to put that out. So we have 2 more products that we're going to talk about here briefly. One is Dr. Tennant's Voltage Up. So Voltage Up is a holistic treatment that contains this kind of, it still contains digestive enzymes, but it's kind of another route that Dr. Tennant really likes for cancer patients. And so it's a holistic treatment that contains potent pancreatic enzymes and systemic enzymes, as well as the medicinal mushroom blend of Immunocyst Micron from the medicinal mushroom group, right? So it combines ingredients in voltage up to support with low voltage and chronic disease. Everything that Dr. Tennant's been talking about deals with that specifically. And voltage up actually provides the pancreatic enzyme support and the systemic enzyme support, along with the immunocyst micron, to help support the healthy immune function. The next of those, which is often paired with voltage up, is herbal voltage. And this is designed specifically to help increase the body's voltage and heal it naturally. So for thousands of years, herbs have been used to help treat different cures and different ailments throughout the system. Well, Dr. Tennant found a couple of different options that have worked for many, many, many years, and combined the two, put those together to help form Dr. Tennant's herbal voltage. And so the bottom line is that it's a variety of plants and herbs that have been put together to help increase the overall voltage for those with low voltage and chronic disease. So we know that when we're thinking about our digestive health, we know that prebiotics and probiotics matter. Maybe we need to make sure that when we are talking about prebiotics, like the microbiome support, that it's also combined with a significant amount of hydration, so that we can help flush those things out, and exercise. We know that a healthy gut is a diverse gut. We know that bacteria play a critical role in digestion and overall health. And that when the body is attacked, or when we do actually have some of those things, whether we have glyphosate or antibiotics or GMOs that are going to attack some of those beneficial bacteria, we can actually heal and help replace that. We know that stomach acid is essential. GMOs, glyphosate, antibiotics can actually decrease the diversity of a microbiome or cause it to reset entirely. It is possible to resod the lawn, if you will, or restore the balance the body needs to help fight infections, maintain diversity, and increase the overall immunity function. And pathogens can be overcome with high-dose single-serving form like lactobacillus if enough are present. So there was a brief mention of the 80 clinical studies that have been used with lactobacillus to help target pneumonia specifically. And we know that in single high-dose settings or high-dose servings, that single probiotics can actually be incredibly effective. But when we think about daily maintenance, diversity is key, right? Helping maintain a diverse microbiome across the board can certainly help support a healthy and diverse immune system. So when we think about our probiotic, we have several different forms of probiotics, several different forms of prebiotics. Same thing with the microbiome support, and that daily maintenance can help maintain the diversity. So with that, I thank you. I'm living proof that the body never forgets how to heal itself, and when it runs correctly, it does heal itself. It's your body, it's your life, and ingredients do matter. I hope this picture is actually a picture of me on top of one of the mountains near my old house. And it was one of my bucket list rides, and I really wanted to do it, but I wasn't able to do that when I wasn't able to walk. So with the appropriate nutrition, with the appropriate ingredients, and with the appropriate focus, we can actually overcome some of those health issues that we've had in the past. So thank you so much. I certainly appreciate your time.